about that. Hey guys, so I'm glad that you guys are back for this video. This video is going to be a little bit more longer than typical, mainly because I'll be talking about foundation. And I know that it's a very tricky topic for a lot of people, not just for beginners. And so I hope that I can give you guys as much information as I can. And let's get right into it. Okay, so foundation. So what is foundation? Foundation is typically a face product that you apply all over your face um, in an attempt to either, kind of make your skin tone more even, maybe, hide some skin concerns you don't want to like be seen. And so it's again a facial product. It People typically try to match their foundation to either their neck or their chest. And before though you apply foundation, I would suggest to do a patch test first. And what's a patch test? A patch test would be basically where you apply a small amount of foundation onto like either your neck, and basically it's to test if you have any reactions to the foundation formula. Is the foundation the right shade? Is the foundation the right color, the tone or the undertone? Is this foundation the right formula? So it allows you to test the foundation without having to apply it to the rest of your face. So let's tackle all these like questions, right? So first and foremost, is it the right shade? Shade mainly talks about like, is it too light for my skin tone or is it too dark for my skin tone? And you can go into makeup stores. I suggest going into a makeup store to do a foundation check or a match, mainly because of course every electronic device has different LCDs or screen, how their screen is made, and so sometimes some colors appear different on different screens, and I've noticed this myself. So hopefully after the whole quarantine's over, we can all go to like a foundation store, or a beauty store basically, to check on our foundation if you do need one. And then the next question, I guess, is it the right tone? Tone meaning the undertone. Of course, let me explain further. So everybody's skin type is more than just like the shade color. It's more than just being fair or being light or being deep. The undertone refers to, is your skin tone more on the yellow spectrum or is it more on the pink spectrum? Is it more warm tone or cool tone? And let me explain all these different terms I'm throwing at you. So for lighter foundation shades or for people with lighter skin, it's either categorized under cool, warm, or neutral. So what's cool? Cool tones are basically foundation shades that appear more pink, appear more flushed. Warm tones are the undertones that appear more yellow or has this like tinge of beige in it sometimes as well. And then neutral would be the in between pink and yellow. A good way to basically visualize it is, again, like try to get samples from a cosmetics store to see, okay, I think I'm in this shade, for example, fair tone for right now. So I'm a fair tone person. I would need one that matches my neck. The neck or the chest is a really good way to test if the foundation is right for you, if it matches for you. And so again, you compare this foundation that you're trying on and your neck or your chest to see, is it the right one or is it leaning towards this side more or that side more. And then for more medium or tan shades, foundation shades, it can either be cool, warm, neutral, or olive. So again, cool tone runs more pink or more red. Warm tone, more on the yellow, sometimes more beige. Neutral is an in between, between both pink and yellow. And then olive tone, or another term for it would be golden tone. And this is basically a combination of neutral with tinges of yellow and green. Honestly, I myself would need to go into a makeup store to actually learn this more firsthand. You'd need to have a variety of foundation shades just to test like which foundation color is for me. So don't worry, if you can always get samples, free samples, or free eye foundation shade matching from cosmetic stores like Sephora or Ulta, um, and other cosmetic stores near you. And then, of course, if you are more on the deeper category, it can run more cool tone, which is typically more red, warm tone, which is more yellow, and then golden, which is that neutral in between the both of them. Unfortunately, I've noticed that deeper foundation shades tend to run a little bit more red, and honestly, some of my friends would sometimes have to mix in like a yellow foundation filler, or like the LA girl yellow yellow color tone, I believe. I'll put a picture somewhere on screen. And basically, which is sad. Like honestly, like you're a freaking beauty company. Please, like this is 2020. Like everyone needs their own foundation color. Like if you can do 20 shades of fair, you can definitely do 20 shades of deep. Um, but yeah, sorry, I kind of ranted on there and went off on a tangent, but it is true. And if you would like, please look it up, search it up, and try to get more informed on that. Again, oh, and another thing for foundation would be, is this the right formula? So there are different finishes in terms of your makeup. Um, there's of course different ways you can also apply your makeup. There's powder, there's liquid, there's cream. Powder typically is more light coverage. It doesn't really cover, like if you have an acne spot that's fairly red and noticeable, it usually powder can't cover. If it's liquid, it can run from light coverage all the way to full coverage. So it just depends on the brand and the product you're looking at. And then cream, it tends to be more medium to full coverage. Cream usually is the one wherein you can definitely change your skin tone from this color to blue, or pink, for example. Like that's how potent a cream foundation is. Um, so let's talk about the finishes and how it appears on the skin. So a sheer finish is basically very light coverage. It's little to light coverage. Usually not even covering, like it can't even cover like freckles. More for the natural look. It can be utilized by most skin types. Again, for like a natural, like everyday look, I guess. And then next would be the dewy finish. So the dewy finish tends to be more light to medium coverage. It's more for that youthful, glowing look. It can be utilized by most skin types, but it's more recommended for dry skin, mainly because it's more moisturizing. It's not going to dry out the skin. That's why it's more recommended for dry skin types. If you're looking at a foundation and it says satin, satin is a light to medium coverage foundation. It's more for evening the complexion, more for, I guess, an everyday look, really. Like that's when I would use it. It can be utilized by most skin types, but it's more recommended for normal skin. um, and this may feel more heavy compared to the sheer one. Matte is a more medium to full coverage foundation, more for full face looks. If you want to have, if you've seen those Instagram photos of makeup looks, typically they'd be using like a matte foundation, especially if it's more for like the eyes, if they're taking just the photos of the eyes, because they want to make sure that it's more, how should I say, more of an even and drier appearance for the skin. It can be utilized by most skin types, but it is more recommended for oily skin types because again, it provides a more dry texture, a drier formula, basically. Some common terms, though, if you are like looking for your foundation, uh, some foundations use the term demi before, or like demi matte, demi satin, and the meaning of demi just means half or partially. Whenever you hear somebody or the product is said to be luminous, like a luminous foundation, this is more like a sheer foundation, typically light coverage, but it tries to focus on like a youthful glow. But again, it's more for a natural look, and if you have a more healthy skin, is where it's more applicable, really, or more easy to use. And then if the foundation says radiant, it's more akin to like a dewy foundation. So it's typically more moist, more shiny to stimulate like a smooth glass skin appearance. Um, but yeah, another thing is that, of course, like different facial skin types, you'd want different foundations. If you are looking for a foundation for dry skin, try to find a foundation with little to no oil in the formula. So, and instead it would have like a humectant. A humectant would be a chemical that provides and preserves moisture to your skin. Um, for example, hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is naturally on the skin and it holds water better to your skin to allow for a more moisturized skin. Examples of, I guess, foundations that I can recommend to somebody who has a drier skin type would be in the luxury category, would be the Fenty Hydrating Foundation. It typically runs for like $35. There's also the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation, and this one's more pricey. It's $42 to $64. But again, like you don't have to get these. Like these are the more expensive ones. If you are more like more of an intermediate to more advanced makeup individual. But if you are beginning, hey, I got you. I got you alternatives. If you are interested in these luxury ones, get samples. Like you can get samples from Sephora. Uh, but yeah. And let's see. For drugstore, the alternatives basically would be the Revlon Color Stay for normal to dry skin, which runs for $7 to $14, or the L'Oreal Infallible 24-hour wear, which runs for $15. A good way, I guess, if you are a beginner and you have like very little information on your hands, a good way to get color matched would be to either go to Sephora or Ulta and have your color matched, and then ask for a sample of the color match that you think most suits your skin type. If you do go through with this color matching, try to go to the makeup counters at Ulta or Sephora. They typically have like various light settings, so you can test like, okay, if it's under sunlight, does this foundation still match my neck? Or what if I'm using fluorescent light? Will this foundation still match my neck? Because sometimes foundations are weird. Like in one lighting, it looks hella nice and hella on point. And then suddenly, you take it out to a different lighting and it looks as if you were like mugged or something. like you just went through a life experience that drained out like 10 years out of you. So yeah, try to utilize the makeup counters at makeup stores and to see if a foundation is really a good match for you. And don't worry about like being asking for a lot. Um, just be nice. Just be respectful to the ladies and men in makeup stores and makeup centers. Just be nice to them. Just be respectful. Like, hey, I absolutely have no clue how to do foundation. Please help me, and they will be so happy to help you. So just be nice and respectful, and you're not gonna have problems. If you are oily, I would suggest to either use like either a powder or a liquid foundation with a more matte finish. So examples of these would be, for example, luxury category would be the Fenty Soft Matte Foundation, which runs for about $35. Um, though for this formula, though, I would suggest again basically getting like multiple samples but from different colors of their foundation range. I've noticed that for specific individuals it oxidizes, so if anything, hey, like at least just get a sample. It's free to see if it's for you and if the color match you're getting is gonna match you throughout the day. What do I mean by the foundation oxidizing? So oxidizing is where the foundation usually gets deeper in color. The more it's on your skin, the more it's on your face, the more you're using it, the more it's exposed to air. Um, Currently, there aren't a lot of foundations that do this, but interestingly enough, the Fenty Soft Matte Foundation, like for certain individuals, this happens. Like it didn't happen to me, but it happened to two of my friends. And then I've asked my best friend, it didn't oxidize for her. So it really depends on the person applying it, really. Maybe they just have certain oils on their face too that lead to the oxidation. But hey, just get a sample. Samples are free and it helps you learn more about what's your foundation color. Another good one in the luxury category would be the Estee Lauder Double Wear foundation, which is around $43. But hey, you do not have to pay a lot of money for your foundation. The drugstore is your best friend if you are starting out or if you are on a budget. Ballin' on a budget is also good. So the drugstore alternatives would be the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. That one is very good for oily skin types, and it's only $6. And that one, I believe, usually lasts me like 6 months, give or take 6 months. So I mean, $6 for 6 months, like hell yeah. And then another good alternative would be the LA Girl Pro Matte Foundation, which usually runs around $9. If you do have a combination skin type, like, hey, you do not need to buy two different types of foundation. So, what I would suggest is actually try to figure out, like, which part of your skin is more dominant. Are you more oily? I mean, yes, your combination, but is more of your facial skin oily? Then try to soothe that one more. And then basically use translucent powder to set the oily areas and not set, or will not add more powder basically to the areas that are dry or normal. If you are more dry, then find a dewy foundation, a more moisturizing foundation, so that you are targeting the areas that are dry. And if you do have certain areas that are oily, just put translucent powder on top. And if you're normal, you don't have to worry about anything. And then of course, like if most of your skin is normal, then get a satin foundation. And if you do have a more oily skin area, then just apply translucent powder on those areas. But if you have a more dry face, then just let it air dry on its own basically. But don't put a lot of foundation. That's a good tip. Please do not over like put too much foundation on your face. Start slow, start with little amounts first and then build up from there, because of course everyone has different skin types and everyone has different levels of skill when it comes to applying makeup. And then suddenly trying to frantically like blend out everything, and then you realize certain areas are too thick in the amount of foundation they have, and you have to basically try to blend it or wipe it away, which is not very effective. So yeah, let's see. And another good question is that what's the sort of coverage you're looking for? Coverage meaning like how much of your skin you want to cover up or basically hide. So there is basically like three different coverages. There's the light, which doesn't really hide the skin, much less like skin concerns like acne or under eye bags. But it may slightly even out your skin tone. This is more again for those that have beautiful skin already. This is more for those who are trying to do a more natural, like, oh, I just woke up makeup routine. Next would be the medium coverage. This type can hide usually like skin concerns like redness or freckles, under eye bags. It can even out the skin tone. All my foundation recommendations are at least medium coverage, by the way. And then finally would be the full coverage. Um, this covers the skin completely and it hides most skin concerns and potentially skin texture. So full coverage foundations are typically creams. So they're the cream sticks basically. A very good one would be the Hourglass stick foundation, but that one costs I think at least $50. So unless you're ready to spend that much money, go ahead. But I wouldn't start there. So those are my foundation tips, tricks, information. I hope that that helped you guys a lot. I know this was a longer video than usual, but I hope it helps you guys. And I honestly just love sharing information with you guys. And I hope to see you again. Peace.